reason I didn't think it was AI is because it looks like the stomach is fake, where the baby, I swear.
Lying to the world. Why not just say, we want a baby, we're having a baby, and we're using a surrogate. Don't pull that rubbish at the holidays because people aren't buying it.
From this moment on, Harry and Meghan will be completely removed. They have betrayed the truth, betrayed their bloodline, and betrayed the trust of the entire United Kingdom. That was the cold yet resolute statement from King Charles III during a private meeting at Buckingham Palace, a final declaration that officially ends all privileges, titles, and any possibility of return for the couple, once hailed as the symbols of a modern monarchy. The media storm reached its peak when Emma Atkinson, the woman who had remained silent for years, suddenly appeared before the cameras and publicly declared, "I am the one who was pregnant with and gave birth to Archie and Lilibet." She came forward with hospital receipts, financial documents, and even a non-disclosure agreement signed at the end of 2018. Follow closely as we break down each razor-sharp statement and the irrefutable evidence presented by Emma, evidence that stripped away the polished veneer of this so-called new royal family, cornering Harry and Meghan in an inescapable crisis, where every falsehood is now being forced into the light. 1. Emma Atkinson presents her evidence for confrontation. London had never witnessed a morning as chaotic as this. Early news broadcasts were abruptly cut off. Reporters from all corners received urgent summons. The front pages of major newspapers were changed within minutes as a shocking piece of news was transmitted directly to the editorial office of The Guardian, one of the most respected media outlets with a global network of journalists and millions of daily readers, at exactly 5:42 a.m. London time. The Guardian's editorial inbox received an email with a single subject line. "For the record, this cannot stay buried." Accompanying the email was a private link granting access to an unedited, high-resolution original video, along with a multitude of attachments, hospital records in PDF format, encrypted financial transaction statements, a legally stamped copy of a non-disclosure agreement (NDA), and a personal declaration letter signed by none other than Emma Atkinson herself. An internal source revealed that just 12 minutes after receiving the email, The Guardian convened an emergency meeting. They immediately began verifying the sender's identity, authenticating the attached documents, and activated Level 1 security protocol, a special procedure reserved for investigations of global scale. Within a short time, the video was edited into segments and broadcast exclusively on The Guardian's digital platform. Shortly after, major networks including BBC, The Times, The Telegraph, and even international CNN followed suit. In less than 3 hours, Emma Atkinson's video had shaken the entire United Kingdom and sent waves of disbelief across the globe. In the video, framed by a stark white wall, Emma appeared with an eerie calmness. She stared directly into the lens, her face gaunt and angular, voice deep and steady, each word delivered like it had been honed to the sharpness of a blade. No vagueness, no euphemisms, no apologies. She began the video by stating, "My name is Emma Louise Atkinson. I am the woman who became pregnant with and gave birth to the 2 children the world knows as Archie and Lilibet. I no longer wish to live in silence. The truth must come to light." Emma recounted every detail with clarity. In 2018, she was approached by a private medical organization in London, represented by an unnamed lawyer, with a request for medical surrogacy on behalf of a high-profile couple. Not long after, she met Prince Harry and Meghan Markle in person at a hotel near Kensington. She signed a slew of documents committing to absolute confidentiality in exchange for a large sum of money and assurances from all involved parties. At the time, Emma said she was young, in need of money, and placed her trust in them. "They looked me in the eye, shook my hand, and promised it was all for humanitarian reasons for family," she recounted. "But afterwards, I was erased from the picture. I gave birth alone in a high-security medical facility. No photos were allowed, no contact with anyone. I handed over the baby and I disappeared. No one mentioned me, not a single soul." Emma said the same situation occurred again when she became pregnant with the second child. This time, she was taken abroad under the guise of rest and recovery, but in reality, it was to ensure she delivered in total silence. According to her, both children, Archie and Lilibet, were conceived with her own eggs and womb, with no involvement from Meghan or any donor. She emphasized, "Harry, you are the father. You know exactly who I am." Meghan, you stood there in maternity dresses, faking back pain, playing to the cameras. You both knew everything, and you both chose silence, but I won't. Emma demanded that both Harry and Meghan make a public appearance, offer an explanation, and take responsibility for the truth. I no longer need money. I need the truth. I want the identities of my 2 children to be respected. I cannot let them grow up under a complete lie about their origins. The media jumped into action immediately. Veteran commentators like Dan Wooten and Piers Morgan spoke up in unison. This cannot be a cheap hoax. This woman knows too much and speaks too precisely. Many details Emma revealed coincided eerily with long-standing suspicions, dating back to 2019. Unusual photos during Meghan's pregnancy, her mysterious appearances and disappearances, and most notably, the scandalous moment when her baby bump folded on live television, an image that shocked the world. But it didn't stop there. A doctor speaking on condition of anonymity confirmed to The Telegraph that he had once been involved in a delivery under the codename Rosebud, a name Emma mentioned in her video. A flood of information followed. Royal lawyers were summoned urgently. Buckingham Palace went completely silent. What stunned everyone was that Emma Atkinson did not arrive empty-handed. What she brought wasn't just an accusation, it was a meticulously arranged dossier, as though she had been preparing for this moment for years. Her evidence wasn't mere words. It consisted of receipt copies, medical records, financial documents, and most crucially, an NDA with a legal seal signed and sealed since late 2018. I was promised privacy and compensation. But in the end, I was erased from the story, Emma stated, not with bitterness, but with a cold finality, like an indictment hanging silently over everyone involved. She held up to the camera transaction invoices ultrasound metric sheets bearing the signature of a renowned obstetrician and an internal letter from a Swiss clinic warning strictly limit media contact patient belongs to high-profile list. What was most striking was how Emma faced the truth. She did not hide behind curtains, blur her image, or mask her identity. She sat upright, eyes locked on the lens, voice calm yet razor sharp, never blinking once. She did not cry, did not beg, did not collapse. Her poise suggested she had waited 7 long years for this moment, the moment she could speak, expose the truth, no longer afraid, no longer silenced. I know they'll call me crazy, a blackmailer, a delusional woman, but I have evidence, and I've waited long enough. This is the time for the truth to speak, but step back for a moment. If what Emma Atkinson said is true, this isn't just a case of Meghan faking a pregnancy for image control. This is a matter of royal succession. It's a story about 2 children introduced to the world under a completely false narrative, one that possibly involved Buckingham Palace, the press, and even Prince Harry himself in its creation. Or worse, its orchestration. And now the world is holding its breath, waiting for answers from Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and King Charles. Because if they continue to remain silent, that silence will no longer serve as a shield. It will be a confession without the need for a single signature. 2. What role did Harry play in the deception? For years, the full force of public outrage had been directed at Meghan Markle. She was seen as the outsider, the actress who lured Prince Harry away from the royal family, dismantled traditional structures, and constructed a false image of a glowing, expectant mother. The press dubbed her the manipulative queen, a Hollywood performer who never truly stepped out of character. But after Emma Atkinson's explosive revelation, a chilling truth began to surface. Perhaps Harry was never the victim the public believed him to be. Perhaps, in fact, he was the director behind the entire staged production. Emma didn't imply, hint, or beat around the bush. She named Prince Harry directly as someone who was personally involved in meetings, negotiations, the signing of agreements, and oversight of the entire surrogacy process. She even claimed he handled financial transactions and ensured all evidence was covered up. In other words, Harry didn't just know what was happening, he played a central role, neither blind nor passive, but actively led the plan. The image of Harry being manipulated by Meghan instantly collapsed. The man once portrayed as a love-struck prince, lost in devotion, is now suspected of being a calculating figure, expertly maneuvering media narratives to serve personal goals, winning over the American public. crafting a new persona, and most importantly, laying the foundation for a much larger ambition, re-establishing a personal axis of power to support a future bid for influence. Let's not forget in 2020, immediately after announcing their departure from the royal family, Harry and Meghan signed a series of multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix, Spotify, Penguin, Random House, and other media giants. Strangely, the content they sold revolved around the very royal family they had supposedly broken away from. Was this the first step in a strategy to manipulate public perception? A calculated move to portray themselves as the ostracized young family and gain sympathy, all while quietly preparing a return to the political stage. Details once dismissed as trivial are now being re-examined under a different light. Harry had refused to publicly release the authentic birth certificates of both children. Meghan appeared in public with fluctuating baby bumps, sometimes suddenly protruding, other times oddly deflated. There were no delivery room photos, no official medical confirmations. Everything was shielded beneath a veil called privacy. Remember the bizarre scene when Archie was born? There was no press stationed outside the hospital, no traditional photos on the hospital steps like William and Kate. Instead, there was a strange video showing Harry standing in front of a horse stable smiling, announcing the baby's birth. Back then, some questioned it. But now, with new revelations emerging, that doubt has deepened into something far more serious. And if what Emma claims is true, that she indeed gave birth to both children, then it means that both Harry and Meghan deliberately constructed a myth about a modern royal family living beyond palace walls to carve out a separate battlefield for the future, distancing themselves from William, yet retaining royal blood. The public suddenly recalls Harry's previous statements about wanting to create a new humanitarian monarchy, or his hope that his children grow up with global values free from outdated traditions. At the time, those words were seen as progressive and noble. But what if it was all part of a well-scripted PR campaign, a carefully curated plan to control legacy, power, and lineage, all on Harry's terms? In retrospect, his cold response, the silence in the face of Emma's accusations, and his complete absence from the media for the past 72 hours no longer seems like respect for privacy, but rather a calculated form of avoidance. If Meghan was the public face, Harry was the strategist behind the curtain. And the fairy tale of a prince abandoning royalty for love is slowly revealing itself to be a chess game of ambition. Not a departure from power, but a reinvention of it. If Harry could fabricate an entire family narrative to fulfill his personal agenda, then the question now becomes, what else would he be willing to do to seize the throne? Instead of speaking publicly, recent reports say that Meghan and Harry's legal team is working feverishly behind closed doors. They're accused of leveraging legal threats to suppress media coverage and halt the spreading tide of information. But when one side is ready to undergo DNA testing to uncover the truth, and the other responds only with legal threats and no concrete rebuttal, can that truly be called confidence over time? That very silence has become a warning siren, one the public can no longer ignore. 3. King Charles reacts with fury and issues a summons. The situation escalated dramatically when King Charles, who had all but severed ties with Harry and Meghan since their departure from the royal family, suddenly issued an urgent order from Buckingham Palace delivered straight to the Montecito estate. The task was entrusted to His Majesty's private secretary, who carried a message that was cold, clear, and left no room for negotiation. His Majesty requests the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to be present in London within the next 72 hours. This was no ordinary invitation. It was an exceptionally rare directive issued directly from the royal household. What shocked everyone was the fact that for nearly 2 years, King Charles had practically frozen his relationship with Harry and Meghan. No messages, no phone calls, not even a reply to holiday cards. Since the coronation in May 2023, the two parties had not even held a private conversation longer than 3 minutes. And yet now, in the midst of a media earthquake ignited by Emma Atkinson, the woman claiming to be the biological mother of Archie and Lilibet, the king had chosen to summon them. The move was so abrupt and unexpected that it left both Meghan and Harry momentarily stunned. According to a source close to the royal family, Meghan turned pale, completely drained of color, while Harry stood frozen with the phone in his hand. No one on the Sussex communications team had anticipated such a bold move. Meghan, who had once firmly declared she would never set foot in the palace again without a public apology, was now being summoned not to seek justice, but possibly to confront a truth that was unraveling at full speed. King Charles gave no further explanation. He simply ordered arrive on time, no delays, and the trip will be arranged and secured by the palace, no private jets allowed. These firm and unequivocal instructions revealed the king's crisis handling style, decisive and uncompromising when things spin out of control. Buckingham Palace remains silent to the public, but inside the temperature is rising. The suddenness of the summons has drawn comparisons to previous closed-door royal meetings during moments of great turmoil. The death of Princess Diana, the stripping of Prince Andrew's public roles, and now possibly an internal investigation into matters of bloodline. Within the royal circle, tensions are stretched to the breaking point. A source inside the royal press office, speaking anonymously, revealed, "This is no longer a private matter or a family affair. It has now become a matter of honor for the entire monarchy. And once trust is fractured, every truth must be brought to light down to its deepest roots." And so Meghan and Harry departed on a commercial flight exactly as mandated by the palace. No one knows what awaits them beyond the royal gates, a warning, a closed-door interrogation, or worse, an official announcement marking the permanent severance of their connection to the crown. All of Britain is holding its breath. How will King Charles act when the throne is weighed against the truth? 4. Erasing the entire family. 3 days ago, in the afternoon, inside a private meeting room at Clarence House, the air was so thick with tension it felt suffocating. Only 3 people remained: King Charles III, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. No one smiled. Not a single pleasantry was exchanged. In the king's hand was a thick dossier stamped Royal Medical Verification, confidential, with a bold headline on the cover: DNA parentage result. And in the 30 minutes that followed, the entire royal dynamic was turned upside down. A minute of silence hung over the room, freezing it in place. Charles sat down and placed the file on the heavy oak table, tapping his fingers on the cover, each tap echoing like a war drum, drilling into the minds of the 2 seated before him. When he finally spoke, the king's voice was slow and measured, yet every word carried the cold weight of a verdict. "Harry, Meghan, you lied not just to me, but to the entire kingdom. And this?" He opened the folder, pulled out the first page. "Is the undeniable truth. Inside was a genetic analysis from one of London's leading hospitals, confirming that Archie and Lilibet shared no genetic connection whatsoever to either Harry or Meghan, not a single trace of Windsor blood." Meghan exhaled sharply as if punched in the chest. She slumped back in her chair, hands trembling uncontrollably. Her face went ghostly white, and tears began streaming down her cheeks almost immediately. But they weren't the tears of someone wounded. They were the tears of someone who knew the game was over. "No. This can't be. We had an agreement. I've kept quiet all these years. I just wanted to be a mother, to love those children as if they were truly mine." Meghan broke down, covering her face, choking on her words. Her voice lost in the middle of a storm. She repeated herself again and again, as if words alone could erase the letters printed on that DNA result. But King Charles didn't flinch. He looked at Meghan with an icy stare, then turned to the son he had once trusted above all else. "You knew about this. Didn't you, Harry? You knew everything." Harry said nothing. The room sank into a deathly silence. Only the wind whistled faintly through the window panes. After a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice hoarse like he had swallowed fire. I never imagined it would go this far." King Charles slammed his hand on the table. The sound wasn't loud, but it was enough to make Meghan jolt. "You never imagined then who forged the documents, who signed the anonymous maternity records, who hid all the birth information, and who allowed that woman to be erased from this story for 5 whole years. Don't tell me you didn't know anything." Harry clenched his fists. He didn't look at Meghan. He didn't turn to his wife. "Your Majesty." His voice cracked. I had no other way to save myself. But I beg you, please don't cast me out of the royal family. I'm willing to walk away from Meghan, from both children. Just please don't strip me of my title." The air in the room grew heavy, thick enough to cut with a knife. Meghan nearly collapsed onto the table, her whole body trembling, her shoulders shaking with every ragged breath. And Harry, the man who once swore to protect his family at all costs, was now pleading to sever the very bond that had driven him away from the palace. King Charles, after a long silence, quietly folded the document and walked out of the room without saying another word. The door closed behind him, heavy final like the punctuation at the end of a reign of trust. Inside Clarence's house, no footsteps echoed. Only the cold stillness remained, with 3 shadows in a silent room. A truth had been exposed. A royal legacy had just suffered a deep wound, and a reckoning loomed just beyond the stone gates of the British monarchy. The DNA report, precise, clear, and indisputable, became a chilling verdict, shutting down every argument. And when trust is betrayed, there's no apology strong enough to mend the pieces of something already shattered. In the final moments of that fateful meeting, Meghan left the room first, with no one to see her off. Harry remained alone, consumed by despair. And King Charles. He carried the file away, leaving nothing behind, not a word. But the entire palace knew one thing with certainty: the real earthquake had only just begun. 5. The fallout was immediate. Just a few hours after the stormy, closed-door meeting at Clarence's house, Buckingham Palace issued a brief statement, concise yet enough to shake the world. King Charles III officially declared the revocation of all royal titles belonging to Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their 2 children, Archie and Lilibet. No more Duke of Sussex, no prince or princess. Everything was stripped away as if no trace of royal blood had ever flowed through that family. The statement, not even 200 words long, contained a single chilling sentence. After careful consideration of the evidence and the severe consequences that have brought dishonor upon the monarchy, His Majesty has decided. The family of Harry Mountbatten Windsor shall no longer be regarded as members of the British royal family under any circumstances. But it didn't end there. Attached was a special royal decree. Harry, Meghan, and their children were formally banned from setting foot on United Kingdom territory for any public or private activity related to the royal family. The royal security detail was withdrawn immediately. All official communication between Clarence House and the Sussex household was permanently severed. In modern royal history, no decision has ever been so cold, so absolute. No suspension period, no appeal. Just a stone door firmly shut against blood once celebrated as princely. Citizens across the kingdom were stunned. No one expected that King Charles the Father, who once showed infinite patience for Harry's missteps, would ultimately be the one to exile his own son. But after years of nurturing a lie, after committing what many now call the most serious betrayal in royal history, even compassion had reached its limit. The monarchy could no longer tolerate a theatrical facade dressed as family, but driven by greed and calculated ambition. Following the royal decree, the consequences for Harry and Meghan arrived like a flood, washing away what remained of their reputation in the entertainment and business world. Within 24 hours, multiple major partners announced they were terminating or reassessing all collaborations with the couple, once hailed as a global brand. Netflix was the first to act, suspending indefinitely 2 documentary series still in pre-production, one about Meghan's childhood in the U.S., the other chronicling her journey as a royal mother. An internal source confirmed, from now on, any content referencing princess or prince will be removed. We don't produce content built on a lie. Spotify, which had signed a multi-million-pound deal for the podcast series. Archetypes responded bluntly, we no longer see the Sussex partnership as aligned with the values we uphold. All related content was taken down within hours. Disney, Apple TV, and Amazon Prime followed suit, cutting off communication and canceling even unannounced projects. Fashion and beauty brands that had once poured millions into Meghan in hopes of crafting her as a modern feminist icon also began backing away. Dior quietly removed every advertisement banner featuring her. Givenchy, Gucci, Cartier, the same brands that once showered her with luxury products, fell completely silent. An anonymous PR executive remarked, "No one wants to be linked to a fake mother. The public is hypersensitive to betrayal, especially when children are involved." Even Archewell, the charity foundation Harry and Meghan once promoted as their humanitarian heart, plunged into crisis. Multiple donors abruptly pulled out. Partner nonprofits ended collaboration. The foundation's website was nearly frozen. In just one afternoon, Harry and Meghan lost not only their royal status, but also their financial base, media credibility, and public trust, the very pillars that had supported their post-royal independent empire. From one of Hollywood's most sought-after couples, they suddenly became symbols of privilege, abused of deception, carefully engineered, and of ambition with no bounds. No more phone calls, no more event invites, no more contracts, and perhaps most painfully, even Hollywood has limits to its compassion. Across social media and online forums, self-declared armchair detectives began reanalyzing old videos looking for suspicious signs during Meghan's public pregnancies. A clip from 2019 resurfaced, showing a moment when she bent over and her belly appeared to collapse in an unusual way, once dismissed as a dress wrinkle, now being dissected frame by frame. Old trust is being reevaluated piece by piece. Even those close to Harry are no longer silent. Several sources revealed he's become emotionally unstable, frequently lashing out at those around him, and has completely lost his daily routine. One confidant disclosed he's falling apart. He got caught in a lie he thought he could manage. As for Meghan, she has completely vanished from the public radar. No new Instagram posts, no new podcasts, no product launches. For someone known for meticulously managing her public narrative, this silence has hit like thunder on a clear day. Her PR agency has issued no official statements. Several major brand contracts are reportedly under internal review. Tensions within the couple have reached a boiling point that can no longer be concealed. Meghan and Harry, once celebrated as the blueprint for a modern royal family, are now on the brink of collapse. Insiders report Meghan is furious, not only with Emma Atkinson for breaking the silence, but also with Harry for failing to respond swiftly enough to control the media firestorm. She believes his delay was the oxygen that fueled the blaze. Meanwhile, Harry has been pushed to the edge. He's not only been exiled from the royal family, but now faces the loss of his reputation projects and income streams. Sources say the couple barely speak live in separate rooms and have reduced their household staff to a minimum. The Montecito mansion, once described as a peaceful refuge, is now engulfed in distrust and tension. Currently, Meghan is said to be refocusing her efforts entirely on salvaging her personal business ventures. Her lifestyle brand, which includes cosmetics, wine, and home living, is under intense pressure as investors and partners quietly withdraw. One insider revealed no one wants to be trapped in the middle of a media bomb about to explode. The story of Meghan and Harry, once hailed as a symbol of freedom and self-determination, has lost its fairy tale glow and is now spiraling into an unprecedented crisis of trust. King Charles III, who had remained patiently silent for years, has finally made his choice to place the institution above blood ties. The truth, no matter how late it arrives, always comes at a price. And this time, that price is a DNA test, accompanied by millions of eyes watching closely from all corners of the world. But is this truly the end? Could there still be secret arrangements that have never come to light? Was Meghan merely a pawn, or the one who held control in a multi-layered game of power? And Harry, is he the unwilling victim of a manipulative marriage, or in fact a deliberate accomplice in the entire saga? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for staying with us through the final moments of this explosive story. If you want to keep up with the latest developments, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave your thoughts down below. We'll be back soon with truths that have yet to be revealed.